Hey everyone. I thought I'd come on here because you could see the title below, and I'm doing this live, and I thought about what I was going to uh, talk about live when I got home, kind of do a video on, and pretty much there was a video, and I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna provide the link to it. In fact, there are two videos I want to first recommend. All right. The first video I want to recommend is one that I saw last night, early this morning. It is by Dark Horse KC, and Dark Horse to me did a very good video here. Well, you have to listen to it for uh, I'm just going to recommend you guys listen to it because it is Dark Horse did a very good job. She pointed out, she gave her thoughts on what's been happening with the whole Toon Critic situation, and you could tell that she wants us to kind of move on in a sense. So she did provide a challenge as well, like the Real Horse Famous challenge. So it's a very positive video. I will put it that way. I'm going to put it like that. It's very positive, and you gotta definitely check it out. So I'm going to put a link to that as well as I'm going to put a link to another video that just happened about 4 hours ago. It's called Breaking the Silence. It is on Voice of Reason's channel. And here we finally get, I haven't listened to all of it, but we do finally get details as to what happened, um, how it all went down. Basically, how everybody found out, you know, what precautions and stuff, what steps were taken, what they had to go through and everything uh, to make this happen. So there's that. So so basically, my recommendation is to uh, check those two videos out. Again, I haven't watched all of Breaking the Silence yet, but from what I've heard so far, they basically given us they're answering all the questions that we're wondering about. Like you know what happened, how did they find out, what steps did they take to uh, what steps did they take, how did they get in contact with the proper authorities, the FBI, stuff like that. um, Basically this video, from what I understand, it involves those that were there when they found out, were there at the very moment that they found out, and they're giving their own personal um, they're giving their own, basically their own experience. They're giving their own personal experience of when they found out what Toon Critic had done. They basically gave their own witness report. They're basically letting you know first and foremost how this all got out, how they found out about it, because from Kichi to several others that are part of that live stream that Voice of Reason did about 4 hours ago or so. Basically, those are the people that were involved. Some of them were a part of the Skype call when they found out. Some of them were listening in because they were either working or doing other things. Um, but they were able to basically listen firsthand on what was going on. Basically, I think British Ninja calling out um, Toon Critic for what he had done. And they do go into detail so far. Like I said, I haven't listened to all of it yet, but so far they go into detail of how it all came together, Heather, and how they were able, how they were, I guess, able to take the necessary steps to uh, not only remove Toon from the community, but basically turn him into the authorities, or have himself turn himself into the authorities. They basically explained, from what I understand, that they went to the FBI's website, they went to the local authorities' website in the Chicago area, stuff like that. And again, just listen to again. I haven't listened to all of it yet because, of course, I just got off work. At around 4 o'clock, and I didn't get home until about 5:17, and I didn't see this online until I turned on my computer, let my computer load up, and then I went to my YouTube page, on my subscription page, and I saw the because I'm subscribed to Voice of Reason. Well, I am now, but uh, I saw this in a recommendation video, so I checked it out. So I was starting to listen to it, and that's when I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to listen to the rest later. But from what I could tell, they are giving you a firsthand. Um, they're giving you a firsthand perspective of of how this went down, how this all went down when it was originally discovered, when the discovery took place, and stuff. So yeah, again, I haven't listened to all of it, but I would recommend anybody that still questions the authenticity of how nobody in the community knew about this and why they didn't take the steps needed in the first place. I'm recommending that you check out the Breaking the Silence video at the Voice of Reason. That link is there. In fact, I think it's the first or second one. And then um, the other one is the Real Horse Famous Challenge by Dark Horse KC. So yeah, those are the ones that I would recommend you guys check out. Hold on for a second. I'm going to look at something here. Make sure which one is first. The first one is Voice of Reasons. That's the first link you will see in the description. And then the second one is Dark Horse KC's video. So the first one is Breaking Silence, and the other one is Dark Horse KC's video. So yeah, I would recommend you guys check out either basically check out both of them, because again, I haven't seen all Breaking the Silence yet, but again, from what I could tell, they are giving you a step-by-step, first-hand encounter, first-hand perspective of how a first eyewitness perspective, if you will, of how they found this out, and how it all went down. And again, I haven't listened to all of it, but I would recommend you guys listen to it so you can get a better perspective, get a true understanding from those that were there when this was all discovered about Toon Critic. And then again, also watch Dark Horse KC's video, because to me, she definitely how do I put this? Definitely put a lot of heart into what she had to say. So I would recommend checking her out right off the bat. Again, like I said, I would recommend checking her out. Right off the bat. Anyway, on to the subject at hand here. Again, check out those videos. They will give you a better perspective of what's going on, especially the Breaking the Silence video, where we finally do get the answers straight from the people that were there when this all went down. So check that out. Um, but one thing I want to talk about here is, as the title basically says, as and everything, not all fandoms are perfect. And also, I want to give my thoughts on where the MLP FIM fan base, the Brony, Pega, Sister community, goes from here. And the reason that that's the title of this live video is basically because it's the truth. It doesn't matter what you're a major fan of or how big of a fan base, um, whatever you may be a fan of is, not all fandoms are perfect. There is not one group of fans out there or one group of fans or one community as a whole that is perfect. No, there is nothing perfect out there when it comes to fandoms and communities based on something that you love to read, if it's a comic or a novel, or you like to watch, if it's something on television, whether it's a live action or animated show, or something you can't wait to go to theaters and see continuously carried on in story, like let's say Star Wars or the MCU movies, stuff like that. No fandoms are perfect, and I say that because any fandom is going to have, you know, it's going to have its bad seeds. It's going to have its bad apples, its cracked eggs. Not all fandoms are perfect. It's like I said in my live discussion on the whole Toon Critic situation. I basically use the allegory or the analogy that some people say one bad apple will ruin the bunch, but they also paraphrase that and say that one bad apple doesn't ruin the bunch. That you can have a bad apple and all the rest are good, or you can have a cracked egg and all the rest are good. It's not going to ruin, the enjoyment of you using all the other eggs to cook breakfast or cook dinner with or lunch with. And it's not going to, and one bad apple is not going to ruin the whole bunch at most times if the rest are good and allow you to, take one to work or to school and take a bite out of it or something like that, or just something to chew on as a snack. Just because you get a bad one doesn't mean all the rest are. And and that's the same with fandoms, and I said that about the MLP, that's what I said about the Brony and Pegasus, the community of MLP. Just because someone like Toon Critic is that bad apple, that cracked egg, it doesn't mean it's going to ruin your enjoyment of being part of a great fan base, of a great community that has come together and created such a unique atmosphere and taken something that was originally meant for younger kids and taking it beyond its targeted audience, beyond its targeted maybe age range or gender or what have you, and made it into something more, made it into a pop culture phenomenon that when it's all said and done, it's still going to be looked back at as probably one of the greatest animated shows in history, if not of all time. But the point is, just because critic, Toon Critic, is that bad apple and that cracked egg, doesn't mean it's going to ruin. He's going to ruin what he did. Is going to ruin everybody's experience, because what a lot of people that have done videos talking about the situation from a personal experience and a shocked reaction and all that is they have all basically said this one thing throughout the videos towards the end or in the middle of it. And they have all said what I'm going to say, and that is they are going to move forward. They're going to try to move forward, continuously continue to give content or continue to uh, give us content, upload videos, reviews, what have you. They're going to move forward and not let this affect them, because if they let this affect them, then they're letting, as my mom says, being a Christian, they're letting the enemy win. And the enemy is not going to win because, as my mom has said, the Lord has won, the enemy lost. When Jesus rose from the tomb 3 days later after being crucified on the cross, he rose again 3 days later, and thus the enemy was defeated. The devil was defeated. And you know what? This here, the enemy is not going to win here because he's already lost. God, the Lord, Jesus is not going to allow something that has been made beautiful, that has put a positive spin on a lot of people's lives. He's not going to let something like that get tarnished or ruined because somebody decided to tarnish and ruin it. Because somebody, like the enemy himself, decided to manipulate and lie to those that trusted him and were close to him. Toon Critic is not going to let this. Toon Critic's actions are not going to ruin this fan base or anybody else's enjoyment of what they have created, what they helped create through this community. Because Toon Critic, like the enemy, has lost, and he lost when his friends, his former colleagues, called him out on his actions. So he lost when that happened. He lost when he found out that no one was going to associate with him anymore. And he lost the moment they told him he either had to turn himself in within 24 hours or they were going to call the authorities and have him probably arrested, which they probably did. Well, no, I'm not saying probably, but most definitely did. They gave him 24 hours to either turn himself in or have the authorities arrest him. That's what they did when they contacted the authorities. They told them about what was going on, and through the means that they did. And by now, from what I understand, Toon has been placed under arrest from what I saw in a tweet. And he's going into what probably could be an unknown sentence. The fact of the matter is, just like the enemy lost when Jesus rose from the tomb 3 days later, Toon lost when people called him out on his BS and informed him that he had 24 hours, like I said, to either turn himself in or they were going to contact the authorities. I'm sorry, I work today. I'm a little tired. They're going to contact the authorities from the FBI to the local police to basically arrest him if he didn't turn himself in. And the thing is, like I said, and what this video is about, is Toon Critic isn't the only one that's like that. The fandoms that are out there from fan bases and communities centered around, let's say, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Fan bases and communities based around Star Wars, Star Trek, Sonic the Hedgehog, Transformers, any anime fans out there from Naruto, easy for me to say, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Cowboy Bebop. The list goes on of how many anime fan bases and communities are out there. It doesn't matter, what you're a fan of, what fan base and community you're a part of, or you're primarily a part of. No one is perfect. There is not one fan base, not one community, one fandom that is perfect out there. You're always going to have somebody or someone or several people out there that, just when you meet them or you encounter them, there's just something off about them. There's just something that you cannot shake your head about. There's something about them that makes you feel unnervous, that makes you feel like, I'm not too sure about this person. And then sooner or later, you hear about maybe something that they did, and then that's when it hits you that you knew something was off about them. You just couldn't tell what it was, and then you find out what they may have done or been involved in, and then that's when you have that. That's when that light goes on that you knew something was up. The moment you hear about whatever they got in trouble for or what they were involved in. So no fandoms are perfect. No fandoms are perfect. No communities centered around franchises and stuff are perfect. No one is. You could be a fan of the Looney Tunes or Yogi Bear or Josie and the Pussycats or Riverdale. No one's perfect. No fandom or community is perfect. You can be a fan and primarily be a part of the community and fandom of The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones and or The Sopranos or what have you. And nobody's perfect. Nobody is. You know, you can be a fan of of anything DC comic related. You could be part of the Wonder Woman fandom, the Superman fandom, the Justice League fandom, the Batman fandom, you name it. No fan base and community is perfect, even with those franchises and characters. Nobody's perfect. You think the Spider Gwen fan base and community is perfect? No. You think the Spider Man one is? No. Nothing is perfect. You're always going to have someone or some people or several people that basically, like I said, will feel off to you. They will feel off. They will give you that unnerving negative vibe when you meet them because you know something is up with them. And that's when you realize, and like I said, that's when you realize, when you find out that that person that you feel uneasy about, that you feel, you get that negative vibe from, when you hear they were involved in something that's against the law or is criminal or just isn't right in your eyes, then you'll get the idea. Then you will have that light go off and you'll realize that's you had realized I basically that's when the light will go off in your mind or in your head, in your brain, when you realize that you always knew that the reason you always felt uneasy or nervous or got that negative vibe is because you knew something was up with that person. And when you find out what they did, whether when you find out what they did, then you'll be like, it's basically like you knew something was up, and there's your evidence. There's your evidence right there. And that's with any fan base and community. You can go to San Diego Comic-Con. You can go to New York Comic-Con. You can go to EA. You can go to CES. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If you meet somebody there that says they're part of the same fandom that you're a part of, but you get this uneasy feeling when you're around them, and then you find out later on probably of something that they did that was wrong, that's when the light bulb clicks in your head and you realize that the reason you had an uneasy feeling around them is because something was up about them, and there's your evidence. There's the evidence you need. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that a lot of those that were close to Toon Critic didn't feel that way. I can't say that they did or they didn't. From what I understand, Toon was very manipulative in what he would do, say, and act. But something tells me, in my honest opinion, something tells me that they did feel uneasy around him. That anytime they may have came together at conventions or did collabs, that they may have been able to shake off maybe that uneasiness or that negative vibe for whatever panel they were answering questions at, or whatever collab they were doing. They might have been able to shake off that negative vibe, but either before or after that collab or that panel took place or whatever they did, something tells me they had an uneasy feeling around him. They felt a negative vibe. Now, am I correct in that? I can't really say, but I can't really say if I'm not or I am or if I'm not, because I didn't know Toon like they did. But the truth be told, from what I've heard, from what I've heard by listening to several videos, and just the overall environment that I've seen, um, that to me, I don't know. I just get this feeling that even though they would shake it off for that time when they would do a panel at a convention to answer questions from the fans, or they would do a collab, something's just telling me that they may have felt uneasy around Toon when they did this. Again, just my opinion, my speculation it's just my speculation and opinion. I can't say whether or not that's true. I can't say whether or not it's true. But whether or not it's true or it isn't, the fact is, you know, the fact is, the fact is, what he did was wrong. And I said what I had to say in my other video, but what he did was wrong. And all we could do is really like I think Dark Horse KC said, all we can really do is pray for him and pray that he gets the help he needs after whatever sentence he serves. Perhaps should he have turned himself in, and from what I understand from a tweet, he may have done that. He gets the help he needs and finally gets over this whole pedophilia thing, because when I was doing carts today, when I was pushing carts doing, when I was covering one of my fellow associates' lunch by pushing some carts today in the parking lot. And it was a slow day at work, so I had time to gather up enough carts, take them to the garage, put them into the garages on both sides of the store, on both sides of the front end of the store. And at the same time, I was able to kind of think. A, Sorry about that. But like I said, I had time to, uh, sorry, trying to position myself here. But like I said, I was able to have some time while I did that to uh, basically think about how others may look at this and what others may say in future statements if they come out on YouTube or wherever. And quite frankly, I think from what I can tell, those, like I said, I recommend the Breaking the Silence video, which is the first link in the description box from Voice of Reason's channel. But from what I can tell, a lot of people close to the situation, whether they known Toon Zach, if you will, for a decade or so, or several years, what have you. I'm pretty sure that a lot of them have this fear, and it's a fear it's unneeded, because, like I said, God's not going to let anything happen to something that, in my opinion, is a pure, innocent fandom that's trying to, help make something great into something more. Help spread the word about something that some people might be questionable at first of becoming a fan or even checking out because of its original primary targeted audience. But they're trying to do it in a positive way. They're trying to come out and say that if you basically come out and say that this is a show you need to check out because it's got great morals and lessons that not just kids but everybody can apply to daily life. It's a fun show. It's got comedy. It's got great references, stuff, and all that. But the fear that is unjustified, the fear that is unjustified because God's not going to let anything happen to this community, is this basically paints a black eye, a black cloud over the community itself. that this is something that when this whole fan base was created, that a lot of folks that were at first nervous about becoming fans and then later on did, were fearful of. And a situation like this paints the community in their eyes, and maybe in the eyes of those that are new to the fan base, new to the fandom. The fear is the fear that this situation paints the MLP FIM fandom in a dark cloud, because a lot of people that always felt that it was weird for adults, whether they were parents themselves, mothers, fathers, whether they were just college students, regular adults, people that would go to church, Christians, Catholics, you name it. This is the one thing that they didn't want to happen, because those that always felt that it was weird for adults to like what was intended originally to be a little girls show, this is basically the justification they would need to come out and say, yeah, see, we told you. We told you something was up about this. We told you something was weird about this. Now there's your evidence. And the thing is, like Lightning Bliss, Golden Fox, and every golden like Lightning Bliss, Golden Fox, Thespio, everybody, Dark Horse KC, everybody's gone out in statement on this. They've all said the same thing, and I'll say it as well. As far as wondering where the fandom for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic goes, the Brony community, the Pegasista community, where it goes from here is they're going to move forward. They're going to move forward in a positive direction, and they're not going to let this hold them back. They're going to continue to move forward, continue to provide content for those that support them, that support what they do. They are going to do what they love to do, what they love to do, and what they do best, because now they have washed their hands of this entire situation. They are letting the proper authorities handle it. They are letting Toon Critic handle it, and hopefully he has done that by turning himself in. They are washing their hands of the whole situation. They are washing their hands of Toon Critic, and they are going to move forward in a positive direction. They are going to move forward into a positive light, and they're not going to let something like this damper the community, damper the fan base, or damper their love for something that is positive, that is good in this world, that has shown to do some good in this world, whether you like it or you don't. In My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Because, like I said, not all fan bases and communities and fandoms are perfect. None are. None are, and none will be. Because you're always going to have one, two, three, maybe several people that are like Toon Critic, that will try to spoil the whole. They will try to They try to spoil people's enjoyment of what they love, but they aren't, because they have lost the moment people find out about them and turn them in to the proper authorities, or have themselves turn themselves into the proper authorities, because they are not about to blacklist this fan base or any fan base out there. Whether you are a fan of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, whether you're a fan of Transformers, whether you're a fan of Star Wars, whether you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Marvel Comics, whether you're a fan of the DCEU or the DC Comics, Star Trek, you name it. People like Toon Critic are not about to cause a community of any kind, any fandom of any kind, and fan base of any kind to get blacklisted because of their actions. The people that have helped build communities like that, from Lightning Bliss, Golden Fox, Thespio, Voice of Reason, Kichi, Eliora, Firebrand, Silver Quill, they are going to move forward. They are going to and even Keyframe. They are going to move forward. They, along with the rest of the fellow Rift Cafe reviewers and analysis, they are going to move forward. People that review Star Trek, Star Wars, MCU, DC, when they're dealt with a situation like this, they wash their hands of it and they move forward. And they do what they do best, and that is they give reviews and their own opinions on content on either comic books, comic book movies, MLP episodes, Star Wars movies, shows, comics, Star Trek, you name it. They move forward and they do what they do best, and they do it because they love and enjoy the program, the show, the franchise they support. And they're not about to let someone like Toon Critic or anybody else like him pull them down with them. That is a fact. That is the truth. They are not about to let someone like Toon Critic or anybody else pull them down. That is the truth. That is a fact of life. That is the truth. And all I can say is this. All I can say is this in the end. Toon, we all hope you get the help you need. We truly do. We all hope you get the help you need, Toon. Because this is something that shouldn't be happening. Because this is something that shouldn't be happening. Sorry, I was just looking at my video, looking at the comments here, and that came up. Sorry about that. Exactly. Jordan Natru says it best here. You know, he's a huge fan of Pokemon, but it's not perfect. The fandom for Pokemon's not perfect. The fan base for any show, anime, manga, you name it, is not perfect. But we cannot allow someone like a Toon Critic to pull us down and pull the community down with them. We can't. You know, we can't let that happen. We cannot let somebody pull us all down with them. We can't let somebody ruin our enjoyment of something, and that's it. You know, it's kind of like a lot of these tragedies that have happened in our country over the past decade and a half. We don't let these tragedies or these terrorism attacks, as tragic as they would be and are, we don't let them hold us down. We fight back and we move forward. And when we move forward into a positive light. And we enjoy life every day we are given to it. We are given it. Every day when God gives us another day to breathe, another day to live on this earth, we are able to enjoy it. We are able to enjoy the life we are given. And we don't let things we don't let tragedies, terrorist attacks, we don't let terrorist attacks or whatever, shootings and all that. We, as tragic as they are, and they are tragic, we do not let them hold us down forever. We don't let them drag us down with them. We don't let the people that commit these acts of terrorism, these shooters, whoever they are, we don't allow them to take us down with them. We move forward. And we remember those that gave their lives or sadly taken from us. But we don't let the people that committed these crimes and these acts take us down with them because we move forward. And that's the same thing with any fan base or fandom or community. We move forward. We move forward. Just, if something like this was to happen in a Game of Thrones community, they wouldn't let it drag them down. They wouldn't let that person drag them down. They move forward. Same with The Walking Dead. Same with Pokemon. Same with Yu-Gi-Oh. Same with Spy. Everything I've listed off already. Any fandom out there, any fandom out there with a any fandom out there is not going to let one or two or three or several people try to drag them down because of their actions. They move forward and they continue to do what they love to do and support what they love to support. Several years ago, someone tried to some people or several people tried to set off some kind of gas bomb or gas something in a hotel in the Illinois area during a furry convention. This got reported. This made national news. Some people, I think, got taken to the hospital, and we don't know if the people that did that, it may cause that to happen, cause that gas issue or whatever it was. We don't know if they were caught or not. But one thing is the furry community, the furries, if you will, did not allow that to drag their love for anamorphic characters of any kind. They didn't allow that incident in the Midwest, in Illinois, I think, of all places, to drag them down. They didn't allow that to happen. The thing is, we cannot allow issues like what situations like what Toon Critic did, or people like him do and did. We cannot allow that to ruin our enjoyment of something. We cannot allow something like that to paint a black cloud or a black picture, or create and paint a black crowd over our fan base and communities, because it's not going to. God is not going to allow something like that to ruin your enjoyment of something that you love to enjoy. We the people find it, we the others support it or they don't. God is not about, the Lord Almighty is not going to allow someone like a Toon Critic or anybody like him to ruin your enjoyment of something. They're not. He's not going to let it happen. Because just like like I said earlier, when the Lord Jesus Christ rose from the tomb 3 days after he was crucified, in those 3 days, on that first day, the enemy lost. The moment Jesus gave himself up for us and our sins, and the moment he raised from the grave, the enemy lost. And people like Toon Critic, when they are discovered about what they do, they have lost. When they find out that nobody wants to associate with them anymore, they have lost. And when they lose, realize that dragging us down with them has failed. And nobody is going to allow that. None of the analysts or reviewers in the MLP community, the Brony and Pegasus fan base, is going to let this situation drag them down. They are going to move forward, and they're going to move forward in a more positive light and never look back. They are going to do what some people have joked about in the wrestling community, as they are going to look at Toon Critic, and he's going to be what's known as Benoit. He's going to be Chris Benoit. In other words, he is going to be disassociated to the point that nobody's going to acknowledge his existence anymore. And like I said in my other video, I don't know what they plan to do. I don't know if they plan to keep videos up of him like Thespio plans to do, because he wants to remember the good times before this went down, or if they're going to go out and re-edit and censor out Toon Critic in some shape or form. I don't know if they're going to do that or not. I know I have one video that was a response to Toon Critic's video on villains and all that, And I will agree with Seth B on one thing. I will agree with him on one thing. You know, because I didn't know about this like anybody else. I didn't know about this. And I did that video before I even knew what Toon Critic was really about. So when I look at that video, I look at a Toon Critic I didn't know nothing about yet. I look at someone that I saw as a fellow brony and a fellow fan. And I don't look at someone that's a sexual predator. I look at someone that I thought was just like me, was a brony and a fan of MLP. That's all I see in that when I did that response video. I don't see the sexual predator that is now going to be blacklisted, blackballed from the community, probably for the rest of his life, or at least until he gets help. The fact of the matter is, a lot of the fact of the matter is, there's going to be a lot of people that are part of the Brony and Pegasus community that are either going to not want to associate with Toon Critic anymore, and they're either going to take down videos or re-edit them to censor him out in some shape or form, and that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and do it. You have the right to do that. But then there are going to be others that are going to look past the sexual, that are not going to look at the sexual predator thing, and they're going to look at someone that they just knew as a fellow brony and a fellow fan, and that's it. There are going to be people that are going to be like that. They're going to want to remember the good times because they want the good times to overshadow the bad times that this situation, this current situation right now. They want the good times that they had with Toon Critic before this leaked out. They want the good times to overshadow this bad time, this bad situation. And whether you agree with that or not, that's totally up to you. But again, like I said, no fandom is perfect. No fandom based around anything is perfect. You're always going to have one, two, or several people around that are going to basically drag the community down because of what they do. Because you have that uneasy feeling around them, and when you find out what that uneasy feeling was all about in the end, then you know you had a right then you knew you had a right in not wanting to really associate much with that person, or why you were in the right of having a negative vibe around that person. But that person or those people, it's not going to drag down your love, your enjoyment of something that you support. And when it comes to the analysis and reviewers in the Rift Cafe that love My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, they are not going to let this drag them down. They are going to move forward, and they're going to move forward in a bright light. And they are, just like Lightning Bliss says, they're going to look to that rainbow, and it's going to make them smile. And they're going to smile by looking at that rainbow and remembering that they are not going to let another dark cloud come over this community or their love for the My Little Pony show ever again. So in the end, I will say this. No fandom is perfect. No fan base or community is perfect. No one is. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. My mom called me, told me she's on her way home from school. But anyway, like I said, folks, you know, no fan base, no fandom is perfect. No one is. Doesn't matter what you're a fan of, what fan base you're a part of, what conventions you go to. Nobody is perfect. And all I can say in the end, all I can say in the end is I hope Toon Critic, again, like I said in my other video, I hope Toon Critic gets the help he needs. But I will say this. Again, to quote Lightning Bliss, to paraphrase what she says, it doesn't matter what fan base you're a part of. When something like this happens, you need to look towards those rainbows because they will make you smile. And the MLP Brony fan base community is going to look towards that, towards like I said, I know for a fact that the MLP fan base is going to do exactly that. That the Brony and Pegasus community is going to do exactly that in the end. They're going to do what Lightning Bliss always says at the end of her videos. They're going to look at those rainbows and they're going to smile because they're going to be going towards those rainbows and towards a new direction, a new beginning. Same with any fan base that deals with this situation. Again, no fandoms are perfect. No fan bases are perfect. And all I can say is for those that feel that this is exactly what they needed, that this is the evidence that they needed to blacklist this community, to say, ha, see, we told you something was up with these adult fans. I'll put it to you like this. No, I'll put it to you like this. Just because this happened, you need to look at other fan bases and fandoms as well. Because they too have these similar situations, if worse. If worse. All right? You need to look at other fan bases that deal with a similar situation, if not worse. And you have to look at the fact that what they deal with at times in similar situations, if not worse, they don't let them drag them down, and they don't allow that to blacklist their fan base and the community or their love. They don't let that allow them that. They don't allow it. They don't allow situations like this to drive them away. Because it's not going to drive them away. It's not going to allow people that say, ha, see, we knew something was up with this fan base. We knew it was weird the whole time. People like that, an example of it. No, they're not going to let that intimidate them. And they're not going to let people that will basically use that against them and say, see, you shouldn't be part of this. You should leave. No, they're not going to let that happen because they're going to, like Lightning Bliss puts it, look towards those rainbows and smile and move forward to a new beginning. That's what they're going to do. They are going to move forward. And it doesn't matter how big or small your fan base is. You are not going to let something like this define what you love and what you support. In the end, like I said, nothing's perfect. And we'll move, and this fan base is going to move forward. This fan base is going to not let someone like what Toon Critic did, someone like Toon Critic drag them down. And his former friends, his former analysis communicators and brony reviewers are not going to let him manipulating and lying to them drag them down, because they are going to move forward like they say in the videos. So in the end, again, I will recommend you to the 2 links in the description box. The first one to the Breaking the Silence live stream that Voice of Reason, Kichi, and several other friends did a couple of hours ago, because that is basically a first-hand account of how this all went down and how they found out. And I also recommend you to Dark Horse KC's video, because she put a lot of heart and thought into to what she said. I recommend you please check them out. Please check them out in the end. And because they both videos need to be listened to. Again, I haven't listened to all of Breaking the Silence yet, and I will. But I do recommend Dark Horse KC's video. Dark Horse KC's video is the second link in the description. The Breaking the Silence video is the first link in the description. I recommend listening to those folks, because honestly, this should not happen ever again. This should not happen ever again. In the end, as I've said, and I'll say right now, not all communities, fan bases, fandoms based around anything are going to be perfect. You think the fan bases and communities that meet up at San Diego Comic-Con or EA or New York Comic-Con are perfect? No, they are not. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching live. Thank you all for watching post live after it's been uploaded. I appreciate the comments from Jordan Nat True and Cheese Whip, among others. I thank you very much for your comments, guys. I really appreciate it. And in the end, like I said, nothing is perfect. No fandoms based around anything are perfect. As far as I'm concerned, the MLP fan base and community, they're going to move forward. They're going to move forward into a positive light. They're going to look, as Lightning Bliss puts it, they're going to look for those rainbows, and they're going to move towards those rainbows, and they're going to smile and enjoy the love and enjoyment of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And they're not going to let something like this hold them back anymore. They are moving forward. They are moving towards those rainbows. They are moving towards a better beginning, a better light, a more positive direction, and they're not going to let something like what Toon Critic did drag them down. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, folks. Thank you all for watching live. Thank you all for watching post live. Let me all know what you guys think in the comments below, post live if you can. I would really appreciate to hear from you guys. And thank you all for listening live and everything. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care. I'm out.